Hello everyone, it's Shane Kanto, your Wasteland reviewer, and I'm here to review Christine. And this is from Stephen King, and what if you had a story where a car killed people? High concept idea, that's the crux of Christine. And you could easily just make this that. You have this killer car comes out of nowhere and starts murking people. But of course, it's Stephen King, and this is 500 pages. There's a lot more to it. And what I appreciate about this story, because like obviously this is that horror idea of like, what if there was a car alive that killed people? And it has those elements, and it delivers. There's some terrifying moments. There's some really uncomfortable and unnerving moments, because why wouldn't there be if you have this car just killing people? But there's more depth to it. And, you know, the film that this was adapted into by John Carpenter is a lot more stripped back of like evil car doing all kinds of crazy things, because it's a John Carpenter film. It's really focusing on that. You see a lot of filmmakers stripping away a lot of the ethos of King's books to make them more simplified because it works on screen. You know, The Shining strips away a lot of the soul of the book, and Stephen King hates The Shining. Christine has a lot of depth to it. Do I still feel like this needed to be 500 pages? Probably not, but there's a lot of emotion here. Because at the core, so like even on the back of this copy that I have, so like you have, but a 17-year-old Arnie Cunningham loves her enough to do anything to possess her. You have this young man, Arnie, who is isolated, hasn't had the women, and his whole perspective and everything changes when he gets this car. And Dennis distrusts right from the start, and this book, at the core of it, you have this dynamic between Dennis and Artie, and having that best friend relationship is important to the story. It's important to have that depth. It's important to have those feelings. We connect with it. What's really going on with Christine has a lot more depth than just some evil car with no real explanation. It's horrifying, but it's also moving. This book has those emotional moments. You have Arnie's teen queen girlfriend leave, fears her the moment that she senses her power. You have these dynamics. Arnie's parents, teachers, and enemies soon learn what happens when you cross her. And you have such a compelling idea here, and I think King really does well with the teenage kind of drama elements to the story. He does great with the horror elements, but what really makes this stand out are the emotional beats, those things that you feel. And by the end, there's some really impactful emotional moments in this story. And there's loss. This isn't something where it's just like, we're going to clean this up nice and clean at the end of this story. No, you're going to lose a lot along the way, and our characters lose a lot along the way. And like I said, I don't think this really needed to be 500 pages. I think there's a lot of Stephen King books that could have been trimmed back a bit, but there's so much dense things to work with here. And King takes that approach instead of making these stripped back. Like, this could have easily been 200 pages and focused a lot on just murder, like homicidal car. But you spend the time connecting with these characters, building a world that we actually care about, and we don't want to see a whole bunch of people murdered from. And we care about Dennis and Artie, and we want to see Artie back into a better place instead of the place that he winds up because of this car and what winds up taking on him. And by the end, this is a really satisfying read and quite this story, and really shows that Stephen King has an adaptness to a lot of depth and elevating of high concept kind of horror stories. So definitely check this one out. It's definitely worth your time. But those are my thoughts on Christine. Let me know what you think, and let's talk some books. But thank you as always for tuning in and supporting your Wasteland reviewer.